Hi, and welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. This is a special bonus Part 4 video of the Mississippi River Houseboat moving project. And again, this is not my boat, I'm just helping some folks move it. In the prior houseboat video, we thought we were all done, we had gotten to Hastings, parked the boat, and then in the meantime, the owners found a nicer slip at a better marina, so we're moving the boat the last 30 miles or so up the Mississippi River from Hastings to St. Paul. We just have to go through a single lock today, and we don't think there are any cruise ships in the schedule, so hopefully everything goes a little quicker today than it did on some of the previous days. So here we are again at the natural habitat of the Gibson houseboat, the fuel dock. Perhaps for the last time in this particular video series.
The oil out of that generator, is it holding oil?
That's why I want water.
Yeah.
Quality instruments as always. I do have to apologize about the wind noise. This camera doesn't have any way to plug in an external noise canceling microphone, so there's just going to be some wind noise in the background. I'll try to do voiceover descriptions of the things we're passing, so you at least have something to listen to that's not just engine and static. Here we are passing through Hastings, Minnesota, under the railroad lift bridge. Here's the backside of downtown Hastings. Here we have lock and dam number 2. This is the first one of the day, but the second one, sort of, descending the Mississippi River. There technically are 2 more locks and dams above lock number 1, but one of them isn't used anymore, and they aren't really considered the same numbering scheme as the rest of the locks. It's always fun to try to maneuver into this thing without hitting the cement wall on the side. And then you just grab these ropes and kind of hold on as the lock cycles. You don't actually want to tie your boat off to the ropes because the water level is going to raise or lower as you go up or down the river. Pretty slow traffic today, just one other boat in the lock. A lot of these locks have really nice control buildings, and some of them have little visitor centers or observation decks that are open to the public. So they're kind of a fun place to come and hang out if you want to watch boat traffic on the Mississippi River. This one also has some sort of maintenance or construction going on. A lot of these locks were originally designed with 2 chambers, but the government never funded the second chamber fully, so it's kind of an ongoing process to deal with those leftover bits, sometimes blocking them off or removing them. Here we've got some limestone bluffs along the river with a couple railroad tracks in the foreground.
And the rudder, it's got, I don't know, halfway over towards port.
I don't think that ever works. It's just random down here.
Here we can see the last remains of the historic ghost town of Ninninger, Minnesota. A lot of this town was originally down on the river flats, which are now flooded because of the lock and dam. And so all you have left is what was right up against the bluff. There are a few old houses, there's the remains of an old brewery, including some brewery caves back into the sandstone bluff, and then there's kind of a funky marina with some old docks that never really seems to be open. Here's the 3M Cottage Grove facility, kind of hiding behind those trees. These almost look like sea caves, or I guess river caves of some sort. It's too shallow to go over there and investigate with the houseboat, so we'll have to come back with a smaller boat to see where these go. In the foreground you see a low, straight line of rocks. This is what's called a wing dam, and these are semi-submerged or nearly submerged dams that help divert the river into the correct channel. You really don't want to hit one of these if you're driving along at full speed, and they're really hard to see if the river level's any higher. That's why you want to stay between these red and green buoys to stay in the marked channel. Here we are entering Spring Lake. There were a lot of neat little islands with a lot of birds and wildlife on them. Here we can see some dredging operations in a side channel of Spring Lake. Here's some sort of barge dock for one of the nearby oil refineries. This looks like some sort of really fun party island. They had all sorts of tents set up. I also really like that vintage cruiser over there. These were a familiar sight back in Alaska, probably a Cessna 180 or something similar. This is the barge loading dock for the Grey Cloud Island limestone quarry. It actually goes very deep and is much deeper than the river level on the other side of that embankment back there. Here's some really cool limestone bluffs. This almost looks like something you'd see on the north shore of Lake Superior. Now we're starting to get more into the suburbs of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So we're getting a lot of these ritzy, yuppie houses with fancy views and private docks along the river. Here's another one of those oil refineries that are scattered around the south suburbs. I'm not sure if they ship products out or receive products in by river or both. Here's another abandoned railroad bridge that's been turned into a community fishing pier, and there's another marina behind it. I believe this is the waterfront of Newport, Minnesota. Looks like some kind of historic park. Another industrial dock. This little boat was really cool. This definitely looks like something I've made. It's a little bit bigger than the barrel and plywood rafts we've built in the past, and it actually has a little house on it. It looks like a really fun thing to take down the river, although I think I'd want a slightly bigger motor than that tiny outboard they've got strapped onto the back of it. Now we're coming up towards Pig's Eye Lake again. If you watched my jet boating videos, you saw us get towed back from Pig's Eye Lake by the water cops the other day. And we're getting a lot more local barge traffic. These smaller tugboats are just shuffling barges around between local industries and getting barge strings assembled and disassembled, ready to go downriver or go where they need to go locally once they've come upriver. Some of these barges don't seem to make it through the winter. We've seen a few of them sunken off to the side, and they're slowly becoming one with nature. Here's part of the large rail yard in South St. Paul. And another railroad swing bridge. I believe this was the lowest one we went under, at about 20-foot clearance. The boat we're in is about 14 feet high with the bimini top up and the antennas down, so we cleared it with a few feet to spare. Here's the Pig's Eye sewage treatment plant that serves the Twin Cities Metro. And now we're getting more and more of these industrial docks and loading facilities along the river. This one looks like scrap metal. There's also some grain terminals and gravel and other bulk material handling places along here. And then off in the distance we can start to see downtown St. Paul. We've got the St. Paul Downtown Airport, or Holman Field, off to our left. And then some more of these dramatic river bluffs off to the right. These ones are primarily sandstone, which is the lighter rock, with some darker shale and then brown-colored limestone up towards the top. Holman Field is a much smaller airport than the main MSP International. This one mostly serves business jets and commuter flights. And here we have downtown St. Paul with some more barges and quite a few bridges across the Mississippi River. So we've just gone under Highway 52 and we're coming up towards Robert Street and then our last railroad bridge of the day. And here we are at the St. Paul Yacht Club's lower harbor. So these are the slips reserved for larger boats like this one. And we're just tying up the boat for the end of the journey. Right there?
Let's see how long those power cables are. Okay.
One last task is to run the wires for the shore power electrical hookups.
220.
All right, we have made it to St. Paul, downtown St. Paul, the Yacht Club Harbor. And now we are finally in the houseboat's final home. And there we leave the Scarvin, parked at the St. Paul Yacht Club's Lower Harbor in beautiful downtown St. Paul, just upstream of the railroad bridge and just downstream of the Wabasha Street Bridge. So that is the end of our houseboat moving adventure. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.